Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on collision detection as well. I have been doing this for the past 3 streams, although I didn't feel like I didn't like master it. Although this stream I am going to be trying to master collision detection, and maybe if like it depends. If I did like one, I might go with like pixel perfect collision, or I might go with user input in SDL3. That's let's go to my gameplay screen. Okay, and guys, this is the chat from like 3 streams ago because I didn't have time to like actually chase the chat. Okay, let me say something like, let's say I'm live exclamation. Okay, let's see. And guys, if I can't talk slash commentate properly, that is because I'm not warmed up yet. Okay, maybe let me get in the center of my screen. There we go. Okay, people, you're live again. Good. The world doesn't wait, and neither do real developers. Listen up. This fool, my people, has an exam assignment pressure from every angle. Honestly, I feel like it's not that big of a pressure anymore. And still come back to learn game dev live. If that's not madness, it's dedication. And sometimes they're the same thing. Now tell me, people, what are we learning today? Collision, movement, textures, camera. Choose your battlefield so your viewers can watch you bleed knowledge again. Okay, honestly, I think I want to go with collision as well. Let me say something like, let's say, I think I want to wrap up collision to... Guys, my fingers I feel are like kind of frozen. Okay, I feel like I want to wrap up collision logic today, so I can write a rect collision first. Okay, because I do want to practice slash review on like writing it, but I'm still thinking, do I want to go or pixel perfect? Okay, good. Finish what he started. The code base will finish you, people. Alright, stream. Watch this little warrior try to master collision logic before collision logic collides with insanity. Let's make his brain sweat a bit more. People, write the rect collision function. Okay, clean, simple AABB check. Okay, so this is the code from last stream because I didn't have time to like work on this off stream. That said, let's go with something like control A and delete everything. Now, let me start off by including a pair of ankle braces because I am trying to do the basic rect collision. Okay, let me go ahead and include IO stream. And since I am going to be using the collision logic in SDL3, I'm going to be including SDL3 slash SDL's header file. So include the SDL3's libraries and SDL's header files. Okay, and then next up, since I am going to be working with the image section because I do want to like load PNGs and all that stuff, I might have to load in SDL's image library as well. So I might go with something like SDL3 underscore image slash SDL underscore image. Okay, guys, there we go, image.h. What this basically means is I include SDL3's image library and SDL's image header files. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to be creating a few classes. Okay, the first class is going to be a physics bodies class because I do want to apply gravity as well, and I will have more than one, more than one objects on the screen, if that makes any sense. That said, I'm going to go with something like physics bodies class, and then a pair of curly braces. Eyebrow hiding visible. I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Now, inside of my physics bodies class, hello boss hiding, Bharat, is that your pronunciation name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, now, in my physics bodies class, I'm going to go ahead and create a few protected data members. The first one is going to be a x-axis, a floating point x-axis underscore velocity, which is initially going to be set to, I don't know, maybe 0.0 floating point, ending with a semicolon. Hiding Moen, I appreciate you joining the stream. I'm the first like. Honestly, it does sound kind of cool, visible. Okay, that's it. Next up, I'm going to go with something like a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity. I'm going to be setting that to be equal to 0.of as well, ending with a semicolon. And then I might need gravity as well. Although, do I want to add gravity here? I think I want to. So I'm going to go with something like a floating point gravity. So there we go. Okay, hold up, guys. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go with a floating point gravity, which is going to be equal to something like 0.5 floating points, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done creating the basic protected data members, I'm going to go ahead and like publicize everything. Now, inside of my publicized, content of my physics body, I'm going to go ahead and create a constructor. So I might go with something like a constructor. Now, I'm going to create a constructor for my physics bodies class that does require a few parameters. I'm going to be requiring, let's say, when you have started stream, honestly, I started stream like 5 minutes ago. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go with something like a floating point for x-axis, and then I'll go with something like a floating point for y-axis, a floating point for width, And lastly, I'll go with something like a floating point for height. Okay, this is going to be y-axis. There we go. Alright, so my physics bodies class does require these basic parameters, and then inside my class, I'm going to go ahead and do something. Okay, let's see. Maybe let's see. What all would my physics body need? I might have to add a applied gravity and all that stuff. Okay, what all would I need inside of my constructor? Let me think real quick. Bro, can you remember that yesterday I was on a stream? Honestly, I do remember. I appreciate you joining the stream today as well, Visible. Okay, so my physics bodies class does have these parameters in it. Does it require anything? I don't actually think it might require something because I have like velocities here. Okay, this requires these parameters. What else do I need inside of my physics bodies this class? I actually forgot. Hold up, guys. Maybe I might need something like, let's see, I wouldn't need a draw function, but I need a rect. I think I might need a rect. So I could go ahead and create something like SDL underscore frect, okay, which is going to be called something like rect, ending with a semicolon. Now I'm going to be adding the attributes here. So I'll go with something like rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis equals to my y-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Although before going with rect.width equals to it, I might want to scale it as well, because I want to get my textures as actual width and height. So before I actually do assign my rex's, local variables as width and height, I'm going to create a textures as width floating point variable and a textures as height floating point variable ending with a semicolon. Yo, hi bro, hi bro, I appreciate you joining the stream. Wait bro, is your channel monetized? Honestly, it's not. Okay, that said, I'm gonna go ahead and do something now. Let's see. So firstly, I might go with something like, I don't know, the SDL underscore get texture size function. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the get texture size function with a parentheses. And then let's add a few parameters. The first parameter is gonna be my texture. Okay, I might not actually need this here in that case, so I might delete this. Okay, although I would need a few parameters, so I could go with something like a void parameter for something like apply gravity, which does require, let's say, something like a parameter of a floating point floors as y-axis. I'm gonna go with something like floors as y-axis. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with the pair of curly braces. Now, under my apply gravity method, firstly, I'm gonna be increasing my, let's say, something like rex's my y-axis underscore velocity by, let's say, my gravity. So my speed increases by my acceleration. Howding, Deeksu, I appreciate you joining the stream. Is that how you pronounce your name, Deeksu? Okay, and then I'm going to end this with a semicolon. And now I'm going to be increasing my position, which is my rect.y-axis, by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Hello, Captain Howding 7, I appreciate you joining the stream. Today, what's your project? Honestly, today I'm planning to like wrap up collision logic because I have been doing this for the past 3 streams, but I feel I've got a pretty good grasp of it. Maybe next year I'm going to work with like user input and like SDL3. Okay, next up, let's see, bro. Is your monetization criteria isn't completed, or it'll be completed soon? Honestly, it was completed like I think months ago. I'm just too busy. Okay, that said, what is the script? Honestly, I am actually, working on creating a physics bodies class right now. That's going to be in charge of adding gravity to all the other objects that I create, if that makes any sense. So, firstly, I'm going to go ahead and add an if statement here for my landing now, because this function, or like this block of code right here, it infinitely drops my player downwards. Although I do want my player to land somewhere, or my player is going to be fall infinitely. Okay, to do that, I could go ahead and check something like if my rect dot, let's say something like y-axis plus my rect dot height is either greater than or equal to, let's say something like my floors is y-axis, then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I want to set my rex's y-axis to be equal to my floors' y-axis minus, let's say something like my rex's height. So I'm going to go with rect.height. Okay, bro, what about your previous game? Honestly, I do like always delete them and I create new ones for like practice. Okay, that's it. And then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Then set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. Okay, that's like pretty much it for my void apply gravity method. Once I'm done creating a applied gravity method, I'm going to be creating a boolean method as well to like check if my user is currently on ground. So I'm going to go with something like is on ground. This is a check just for my player, just so my player can actually jump up, because I do need a check to like actually know if my player is currently touching the floor. My is on ground does require a parameter of my floor's y-axis, which is honestly going to be a floating point. Okay, then I go with the row of curly braces. Okay, bro, can you make a small calculator app? Honestly, I don't think that should be that hard, because like I can make a basic calculator app, but I can't like make an advanced one because like I don't know the function that it actually does. Okay, sometimes it's becoming difficult to understand what exactly you're doing. Honestly, that does make sense. I should like work on explaining much better. That said, now inside of my boolean is ground method, I'm gonna check something. I'm going to be, let's say, returning something like, let's say I return true if my rect.y-axis is equal to my floor's y-axis minus my rex's height. If this condition is met, which means my player is currently on ground. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and create, let's say, another void method called something like, let's say something like jump, which does require a parameter of power. This is my jump strength. And then I'm going to go with the row of curly braces. I'm going to go with something like a floating point of power. Okay, now inside of my jump method, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be setting my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to, let's say, something like my negative power. This pushes my player to go upwards. Okay, bro, can you build a basic calculator now, please? On live, please, bro. Honestly, maybe once I'm like done with the collision logic, because this stream is about collisions and all that stuff, I will keep going. Honestly, I appreciate you. Okay, now once I'm done with that, that's pretty much it for my physics bodies class. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit my class. You're a legend. Honestly, guys, that actually does mean the world to me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and exit my class, and now I'm gonna create another class. This is technically gonna be a derived class slash a child class. This class is gonna be called something like, I don't know, maybe mage. My mage class does inherit all the public content, let's say from my physics bodies class. So I'm gonna go with something like physics body, and then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my mage class, firstly, I'm gonna be having a private data member, let's say, which is going to be my texture. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore textures as structure, and let's say I'm going to have a mage image as my texture, ending with a semicolon. Then I go ahead and publicize everything. Let's go ahead and publicize everything. Adding 7 number, I appreciate you joining the stream. Now that I'm done creating my mage and I publicized everything, I'm gonna be adding a constructor. So I'm gonna go with something like a constructor, and maybe later on, not like right now, maybe later on, I might create getters and setters as well, because I wouldn't have access to my floating point y-axis and x-axis outside, like in my main function, or like outside my physics body class, or like the classes that inherit from my physics body class. So I might actually look into that as well. That said, for my constructor, I'm going to create a constructor from my mages class that does require a few parameters. Let's say I might require something like, I don't know, the first parameter could be my renderer. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore renderer with a pointer to a renderer's parameter. Okay, and then I'm going to add a comment. The next parameter that I might need could be something like a scale, because like when I do load my image, or when I do create an object, I don't want my image to be like really big or like really small. I want to scale it to the size that I want it to be. So I might go with something like scale, and then let's go with the row of curly braces. Now, inside of my constructor, I'm going to do something. Firstly, let's go ahead and give the file path for my image. To do that, I could go with something like my mage image. This is my SDL underscore textures is local variable. I'm going to set that equal to, let's use the image underscore load function. So I'm going to use the image underscore load function. Now, my image underscore load function does require, let's say, 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter, is it actually my renderer? Okay, I think the function name is wrong. I think it's image underscore load texture function. Okay, there we go. This requires a renderer parameter, and the second parameter is going to be the file path of my image. Okay, bro, you're amazing. Honestly, I appreciate you, Visible. That actually means the world to me. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like assets slash, let's see, something like mage.png, and then I'm gonna end it with a semicolon. And that's actually, let's end my function with a semicolon. Okay, now that's pretty much it for like actually giving my file path. So now I actually do have my PNG inside of my constructor here, but I do want to set a size for it. To set a size for it, I could go ahead and create two floating point variables. First is my textures is width. The second is going to be my textures is height, ending with a semicolon. And guys, here, I made a small mistake here because before I actually do add a pair of curly braces here, I do gotta always remember one thing. When I actually do create a constructor from my mage, I do gotta create a constructor from the for the class that I'm inheriting from. Since I'm inheriting from my physics body class, I'm gonna add my physics bodies as classes constructor here as well. So I'm gonna go with something like physics body. Now, my physics bodies as constructor requires 4 parameters: floating point x-axis, y-axis, width, and height. So I'm gonna be adding a few parameters. Let's say my x-axis is gonna be, I don't know, maybe 100. Y-axis is gonna be 400. Width is initially gonna be 0, and even height is gonna be 0 for the time being. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now I could do the stuff that I did before, like mage underscore image is gonna be equal to my image underscore the load texture function with a pair of curly braces that requires 2 parameters. First is my renderer, second is my file path, so asset slash mage.png. Okay, then I end my function with a semicolon. Okay, this is bad code, is it? Okay, bro, my name also starts with V and your name also starts with V. That actually sounds kind of cool. Okay, now once I'm done with actually creating or like loading my mage images PNG inside of my constructor, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create a floating point variable for my textures as width and my textures as height, ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore render get texture function. Okay, so I'm gonna say my, actually, is it something like SDL underscore get texture size? I think it's the get texture size function. There we go, guys. These function names are way too big. Okay, my get texture size function does require 3 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my textures' name, which is technically my mage image. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures' width, and the third parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures' height, ending with a semicolon. Okay, you would know if you didn't copy from ChatGPT. Guys, I'm actually typing this out. It's actually not copying from ChatGPT. Okay, popcorn. Alright, that's it. Now, once I'm done with my floating point textures as height and like get texture size, once I actually get the size, I'm gonna set my rex's width to be equal to my, let's say something like textures as width multiplied by my scale, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna go with something like rect.height equals to my textures as height multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. Alright, now once I'm done with all that, I think that's pretty much it for everything that should go inside of my constructor. So, I'm going to be exiting outside of my constructor and then creating a void method for, let's say, something like draw. This is going to be where I actually draw my, my PNG on my screen. Although it would require a parameter of my renderer, so I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore renderer. Okay, is he even actually coding anything, or is this all fake? Guys, I'm actually explaining what I'm coding. That actually doesn't make sense. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done creating my draw method, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's use the function that actually draws my PNG slash my texture on my screen. To do that, I could use the SDL underscore render, so I'm saying my renderer, to render a texture. So I'll use the SDL underscore render texture function, which does require a few parameters. I haven't actually seen any project testing, just a huge mess of code that nobody could ever read. Guys, this code is just like for practice, so I understand the collision logic and all that stuff. But how can we add any assets to our game or apps? You guys should actually go to the solution explorer. So if you guys type like Control Alt and L, you guys get like your solution explorer here. And if you guys right click and go all the way down to like open in file explorer, let me get that all the way here. So this is technically your assets page, and I did create a assets folder that has all these PNGs that I drew. I use these PNGs. That's it. I'm going to be canceling this for now. Okay, no one actually codes like this, lol. Honestly, that does make sense because I am practicing. I'm not like working on an actual project type stuff because that would be like a waste of time if I did that, because I'm actually learning the basics first before I do move over to like more complex code. That said, my SDL underscore render texture does require a bunch of parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render. The second parameter is going to be my texture, which is my mage's image. The third parameter is going to be a source rect. I did not create a source rect, so I'm going to be setting that to null PDR for the time being, which is basically a placeholder for pointers. The fourth parameter is going to be the memory address of my rect that I created, all the way like up here. Okay, perfect, and then I end my function with a semicolon. And that's actually pretty much it for like my classes. Next up, let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'm going to go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now, my main function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer towards an array of argv. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my main function, I'm going to be using an if statement to initialize my SDL and also check if my SDL was not initialized properly. Thanks, bro, because honestly, I'm now working on my laptop and I'm adding a car assets to my car racing game that actually sounds really cool. Bro, where Jobib start to learn C++. Honestly, if you guys are like a beginner in C++, I would like recommend you guys to learn the very basics. For example, how to display console output, how to like extract the console input and learn about extraction operators, insertion operators, how while loops work, nested loop works, how list sets, collections, and all that stuff works before actually moving on to projects. Once you guys do get a pretty good grasp on the syntaxes and like fundamentals, it depends on what you guys want to do. If you guys want to like work with software development before moving on to like a game engine, I would recommend you guys to actually learn SDL, because SDL requires more programming than like Vulkan or like other game. I think Vulkan requires like a lot of manual work as well, but I feel like SDL is pretty beginner friendly too. Damn, bro, how old are you? Honestly, I am 17. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon, guys. Kind of excited for that. Isn't your mouth hurting by faking the accent? Guys, my mouth isn't hurting because I'm not faking my accent. Okay, how to inspire. Appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Now, in my if statement, I'm going to check if not SDL underscore init, if my SDL was not initialized properly. I'm going to check if my SDL underscore init, let's go with something like init underscore video. So if the video section of my SDL was not initialized properly, I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to display a error message. So I'm going to go with a standard C error with an insertion operator that is going to say something. I'm going to say that I got a SDL underscore init error. Then I go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I could use the SDL underscore the get error function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator and add a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return one saying something went wrong with this block of code, so check it out. Okay, and once I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm going to do something else. Let's see. I might add a comment that says something like game variables. This is going to be where I add my basic game variables at. Okay, I'm architect and we need to develop plugins. Thanks. Oh, I see. That actually sounds kind of cool. I do want to like learn those stuff as well eventually. That said, I'm going to go ahead and create a constant integer variable for my Windows' width, which is initially going to be set to 1000 because I want my Windows' width to be 1000. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a constant integer variable for my Windows' height, which is technically going to be 800. So my Windows' size is going to be 1000 by 800. Bro, I'm 17 too, but you're doing a great job. Got a great skill, man. Keep going. I'll be waiting after you compile the code. Honestly, I appreciate you, Whip. That actually means the world to me. Running water time to... Okay, drink water time to time, because you have to speak continuously and your throat will get dehydrated. That actually does make sense. I do like have a water bottle here, but I usually forget to drink it for some reason. Alright guys, let me drink real quick. Okay, alright, now once I'm done creating my game variables, I'm going to create another comment that says something like create a window and renderer. So I'm going to be creating my window and renderer both at the same time. Alright guys, let's go with something like and renderer. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to be creating my window and renderer both at the same time, but before I use the function that does that, I gotta create two local variables. The first local variable is going to be for my window, so I'm going to use the SDL underscore Windows structure that consists of all my Windows attributes. I'm going to set that to a Windows pointer, which is going to be equal to null PDR. That is basically a placeholder for pointers. Okay, you're irritating. Guys, I do actually get that a lot. I don't know why. Okay, that's the next step. I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore renders structure with a render local variable to it. That is gonna be set to null meter as well, ending with a semicolon. Okay, leave buddy if you don't like us at first. Change your way to get viral. Guys, I don't think I'm actually getting viral. Okay, that's it. Now that I'm done creating the two local variables, I'm gonna go ahead and use the function that actually does create both my window and my renderer at the same time. So I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore create a window and a renderer function. This function actually creates both my window and my renderer at the same time, but it requires a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title slash a caption for my window, so I'm going to go with something like SDL3 window created. Okay, did I spell created correct? There we go. Okay, and the second and third parameter is going to be the is going to be my window's width and my window's height, the two variables that I created up there. There we go. And then the fourth parameter is going to be a flag for my window. If you guys do want a flag, you guys could go with 0, but I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable. So I could go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. So I'm going to go with resizable. There we go. Now this flag makes my window resizable. And lastly, the final two parameter is going to be the memory address of my window local variable and the memory address of my renderer local variable. So I'm going to go with the address of operator window and then the address of operator for my renderer. And then I'm going to end my function with a semicolon. Okay, top-notch movie clips, just scroll down, it's easy as breathing. Oh, that actually sounds kind of cool. Okay, you're using abusive language, not following the guidelines. Am I? Huh. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done creating my window and renderer, I'm going to be using an if statement to check if they were not created properly, because apparently in C++ we do got to give ourselves an error. So I'm going to go with something like if paper of parentheses. Let's say something like if not window, if my window was not created properly, or not a renderer, if my renderer was not created properly, then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to be adding a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to give me an error. Okay, hey top notch bro, if you don't want to watch Julie, he's irritating. I just want to aver him because he's irritating. Guys, I get that a lot for some reason. I don't think I'm actually trying to be irritating. That said, okay bro, I'm leaving. Honestly, I appreciate you sticking through the stream. I'll catch you next stream. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself an SDL underscore create window. So there we go. Okay, create window and renderer error. This is technically my function name and I just had an error because I'm saying this function got an error, so look it out. And then I'm gonna add another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'll go with SDL underscore the get error function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to quit my SDL, so I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore quit with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to return one saying something is wrong with this block of code. Okay, that's pretty much it for creating my window and renderer. Next up, let's see, is there anything else that I want to create? Maybe I want to add a comment that says something like, I don't know, maybe create objects, because I do have classes, so I will want to create a few objects. The first object could be, let's say something like, for my mage class, so my mage class is going to be having a mage's object. That does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be a size. What scale do I want my object to be? Let's say I want it to be 0.1, which is 10% of its initial size. Okay, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and let's say add another comment that says something like main loop. This is going to be where my actual game loop is. To create a main loop, I might need a few variables. So I could create like a boolean variable of is running, which is initially going to be set to true. This is like a type of variable that tells me if my program is if my program is currently running or it's not running. And then I'm going to create a event variable as well because I do want to look for the current event type. So I might go with something like SDL underscore events structure, which consists of all my events. I'm going to set that to an event local variable. And then maybe since I do want to add like key controls as well, I might create like, I think about two boolean variables to check if any of my keys are being pressed. The first could be something like A down is my A button currently being pushed down. Since it's not, I'm going to be setting it to be false. And then I'm going to go with something like D down. Since my D is not being pushed down, I'm going to set that to be false as well. And then I ended with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with that, I might go ahead and create another boolean variable to check if I'm on ground. So I'm going to be setting this to be on ground. I'm going to set that equal to my mage.the is on ground method. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Now, what parameter did my is on ground method require? Let's see. It requires a floor parameter. So I might actually create a floor. So under my game variables, I'm going to add a comment that says something like floor. And in case you guys didn't know what like floor is for, floor is basically where my player is going to be standing. Okay, Vic, bro, a person was irritating and abusing you. So we abuse him and say him to leave. Oh, I see. I mean, okay. Alright, next up, to create a floor, I might use the SDL underscore frexes structure that has a local variable called floor, ending with a semicolon. Basically, my floor is going to be like a rectangle that is going to be like the size or like compressed to be a floor, if that makes any sense. That's it. Now for my SDL underscore frect, I'm going to create a few attributes for my floor. So my floor's x-axis is going to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. And then my floor's y-axis is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe something like 700 since my height is 800. And then I'm going to go with something like my floor's width, which is going to be something like 1050, which is apparently like bigger than my actual Windows' width. And then lastly, I'm going to go with something like floor.height, which is going to be 100. Not too big, not too small. Okay, good night, bro. Honestly, I appreciate you sticking through the stream. Good night, Visible. Make sure to get your 8 hours of sleep. And that goes to like all you guys as well. That said, I'm going to go ahead and set a parameter of my floor's y-axis here. Okay, perfect. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to end this with a semicolon. And let's finally create our actual main while loops. I'm going to go with something like while is running. While my program is running, all while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. For how long do you code? Honestly, these days, since I do have like my college and exams, I don't like stream for more than 2 hours because like usually I code only when I stream because I got exams, because like after I do study for my college stuff. That's it. Maybe once my college is over, I might actually stream for like longer. That's it. Code for longer as well. How are you getting all the syntaxes and algos? Honestly, I did like practice a lot, so I feel it has become like a muscle memory to like actually type them out. That's it. Inside my main while loop, I'm going to add a comment that says something like event loop. Event loop is basically going to be another while loop inside of my initial while loop. So it's basically a while loop inside of a while loop / a nested loop that does require a parameter of a function called the SDL underscore poll event. The poll event function requires a parameter which is the memory address of my event variable. Now, basically, what the poll event function actually does is it like looks for all the events that I'm going to be looking for inside of my while loop. If any of those events is met, it does what I tell it to do. So I'm going to go with something like an if statement. And let's say, for example, I say if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit, then I'm going to do something. If my event type is quit and if my user did exit my window, I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be false, ending with a semicolon. That ends my entire while loop or my entire program here. How old are you, bro? Honestly, I am like 17. That's it. I'm going to be turning like 18 really soon, guys. My birthday is January 5th. Kind of excited. Are you in college? Are you kidding me? Guys, I actually feel I'm like a freshman in college. I did like start, I think about like 3 or 4-ish months ago. That's it. Now, once I'm done with my, if SDL underscore event quit type, once I'm done with my quit check, I'm going to add another if statement to look for a different event type. So I'm going to go with something like if my event.type equals to, let's say something like SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. If my event type is key down, if any of my keyboard's buttons are currently being pushed down, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be adding a switcher because it does look kind of cooler than adding another if statement, but you guys could like add another if statement here as well. It would be exactly the same thing. That said, I'm going to go ahead and look something. So I'm going to go with something like a switch. And then let's add a event.key condition. This looks for the exact key that is currently being pushed down. Now I'm going to do something if the exact key that I'm looking for is being pushed down. Hi, what are you making? PS, good energy, brother. Keep it up. Honestly, I appreciate you, Firebird. That's it. I'm working on like collision logic, but for the time being, I'm working on like key controls, like if a certain button is pressed, I want to do something. So I'm gonna add a case. Let's say if my case is, if my SDL's key is A, if my A button is currently being pushed down, I'm gonna be setting my A down boolean variable to be true, and then I'm gonna break, ending with a semicolon. For my second case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is D. If my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm going to be setting my D down boolean variable to be set to true, and then I break. Okay, and that's like pretty much it for these two event checks, but I do want to add like one more event check. Even though I didn't like create that event type or like that event boolean variable, this is going to be for my space button. If my space button or if my space bar is being pushed, I want my user to jump. So I'm gonna add a case that checks if my SDL's key is space. If my space is currently being pushed, I'm going to be doing something. Before I do that something, I'm going to check if my user is currently on ground or if my mage is currently on ground. If he is on ground, then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I want to set, I'll go with something like my mage object.theJump method. And then I'm going to add a jump strength, which is going to be something like -12, ending with a semicolon. Then I set my on ground boolean variable to be false, ending with a semicolon, because now my mage is no longer on ground because he just jumped upwards. And that's like pretty much it for my key down event check. So I'm just going to copy this for like saving some time, and then let's paste it here again. Now, instead of having my event down key check, I'm going to go with something like up. Up is basically the opposite of down. Down checks if my key is being held down. Up checks if my key is no longer being held down. Okay, how are you doing, Kartik? Is that your pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, in which app are you writing the code? Honestly, I am like writing it on Visual Studio. That's it. Now, if any of these keys are not being pushed down anymore, I'm going to be changing my true to be false and true to be false. I will be removing my this case from here because I might not need my case at all, because I just need it once for like if my button is being pushed down. That's it. That's actually pretty much it for my while loops. I'm gonna actually, for my event loops, I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my event loop. Okay, did I miss like a pair of curly braces here? Okay, let's end it with a pair of curly braces. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go all the way here. There we go. Okay, now outside of my while loop, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like key controls. This is gonna be where I actually do something if my key controls are initially set to true. So I'm gonna go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my A down is set to true, if my A button is currently being pushed down, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go ahead and decrease my mage.rect.x-axis by my x-axis underscore velocity. Since I did not create it, I might hardcode this number. I might go with 5.0f, ending with a semicolon. Although instead of like ending this with a semicolon, I could have actually created a setter here. I mean, getters and setters. Do I want to actually do that? Maybe I could actually do that, because like honestly I feel like there is like no harm in doing that. So I could add a comment that says something like setters. It has been a while since I have created them as well. Okay, maybe I do create it later, because I think I need some review on getters and setters as well. That said, for my key controls, I could just manually type my speeds, because it is like just for for 2 key checks. Okay, next up I'm gonna go with something like D down. If my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go with something like mage.rect.x-axis is gonna increase by 5 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. And that's actually pretty much it for my key downs. Okay, where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer much, but many of you guys did say me to avoid saying that, so I do avoid saying that for like safety reasons. I use Python Pygames, but I see some similarities. Honestly, it does make sense. SDL is almost the same as Pygames, just besides a few syntax and all that stuff. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done creating my key controls, I'm going to be filling my screen. This is like the same as Pygames, because like in Pygames, I forgot how we fill our screen. I think there was like a function that we use that colors our entire screen or our entire window. Here, to do that, we gotta set a color to our render, because technically our render is like a paintbrush that paints stuff that we tell it to paint. To set a color to my renderer, I could use the SDL underscore set render. So I'm setting my renderer to draw a color on the screen. So the set render draw color function, that does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be of my renderer. The second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be an RGB value. Okay, since I want my background to be cyan, I might go with 0, 248, and 235. This is the RGB for cyan. And lastly, my fifth parameter is going to be an alpha/opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I'm going to set it to be 235 because I don't want my rendered or my cyan color to be transparent at all. Now, once I'm done setting a color to my renderer, I could use the SDL_render. Let's say something like clear. Okay, so basically what the render clear function does is I'm saying my renderer to clear my entire screen with the color set to my renderer. That is basically saying I've filled my entire screen with a cyan color. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to add another comment that says something like graphics. This is going to be where I actually draw my image, color my floor, and add all those tweaks. Okay, how doing Om Devs? Is that your pronunciation name? I appreciate you joining the stream. How to start these things? Which language should I start primarily? Okay, I would actually recommend starting with Python because it is a pretty easy language to like actually get a hang of. If you did like spend enough time in Python and understand the basics, moving on to some other language like C++, Java, and like all those other languages, it wouldn't be as hard. The only thing that would be challenging is like getting in sync with like the syntax and how stuff works. That's it, howdy Linux. I appreciate you joining the stream. Bro, when will you run the program? Actually, I'm almost done. I might run it soon. That's enough for my graphics. Firstly, I'm going to be drawing my mage. So I'm going to use the mage.theDraw method with a pair of parentheses that does require a parameter of my renderer ending with a semicolon. And then I want to apply gravity as well. So I might go with something like mage.applyGravity. Okay. With a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Okay, does my apply gravity require a parameter? It does require a parameter of my floors' y-axis, so I might go with something like floor.y-axis ending with a semicolon. And then maybe after I'm done actually adding graphics, I might add a comment that says something like collision detection. This is going to be where I actually add my collision detection. So to do that, instead of actually manually checking collision detection for every single object, I might go above my main function and let's say create a function that checks my collision detection. So I'm going to go with a boolean function called something like collision check. This checks if a collision did happen, although my collision check will require a few parameters. Okay, autostamped, I recommend starting with Scratch, then Python or C++, but C++ would be harder. I feel the complete opposite, honestly. I feel like C++ is like actually pretty easy once we understand the basics of like any programming language in general. The only tricky part is to understand the syntaxes and get like a lot of practice. That's for how long do you code? Honestly, I just code while I stream these days because I do have like an exam, so off stream I do study for my college stuff. That said, I'm going to be requiring a constant parameter of something like, let's say a constant integer of, actually a constant SDL_frect, okay, which is going to be the memory address of my first rect, and then I'm going to go with something like a constant SDL_frect, which is going to be the memory address of my rect B. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my function, I'm going to be returning something. Let's return true if these conditions are met. I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, and then go ahead and maybe get that there. Now, I'm going to check if my, first, if my rectangle A's x-axis is less than my rectangle B's x-axis plus my rectangle B's width, okay, and then I'm going to go with something like and if my rectangle A's x-axis plus my rectangle A's width is either greater than my rectangle B's x-axis, and I'm going to go with something like okay, now let's go with something like if my rectangle A's y-axis is less than my rectangle B's y-axis plus my rectangle B's height, and I'm gonna go with something like if my rectangle A's y-axis, okay, if my rectangle A's y-axis plus my rectangle A's height, so A dot H is either greater than my rectangle B's y-axis. Okay, ending with a semicolon. Guys, this is such a big tongue twister for my brains and mouth. That's a yo Linux brother. Now I'm into the cybersecurity and ethical hacking stuff. Now I'm doing Nmap that discovered those monitors things. By the way, thank you. That actually does sound pretty cool. I was actually confused whether I want to be a cybersecurity or like an AI engineer. I am like rooting for being an AI engineer because I feel that I do like enjoy the concepts of like actually building AIs, although I haven't like started that yet. But I do want to eventually go over those things. That said, now I'm going to go all the way down here and let's check for something. So under my collision detection, I'm going to see, let's see. I'm going to be creating a boolean check for collided. So I'm going to go with something like a boolean collided variable, which is going to be equal to my collision check function. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Did I spell it correct? I think I spelled it wrong. Hold up, guys. Let's copy my collision check function name. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let's go ahead and paste it here. There we go. So it's COLLI. There we go. So my collision check. Now, this function does require two parameters. The first is going to be my mages rect. This is going to be my first parameter. The second parameter is going to be my second object. I did not create a second object yet. So to do that, I could go ahead and copy my this class up here because I want to create an exact class like my mage. I just want to change the memory address so it's a different object. I mean not the memory address, the file path. So I'm going to paste my second class. This is going to be called something like my devil class. Now my devil class is going to be having a private texture called something like devil image as well. So I'm going to go with devil image and then just copy that to save time. Let me change my mage constructor to my devil constructor. Okay, and then I'm going to change my mage image to be my devil image. Let's change my mage image to be my devil image here as well. Gonna change that to my devil image as well. And that's pretty much it. I just changed my position. So I'm gonna change that to be something like, excuse me guys, 500. Alright, that's actually pretty much it. Now let's scroll all the way down here to my create objects. I'm gonna be creating a devil object now. This is gonna be called devil with a pair of parentheses. That does require two parameters. The first parameter is gonna be my renderer. Use copy constructors. That was actually genius. I should have done that. I did like go over like copy constructors, but I might need some more review with that. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. I should have actually used copy constructors. That would like save so much like lines of code. Maybe I'll try that next code. Okay, that said, now let's go all the way down here. Now my second parameter is gonna be my, let's say something like devil object dot rect. Okay, perfect. So there we go. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Actually, and then I end this with a semicolon. Okay, now I'm gonna check something. I'm gonna add a if statement to check something like if collided, if my player did collide, and not. So I'm gonna go with something like and not was colliding. Actually, was collided, colliding. Okay, I do not have a was colliding boolean. So I might actually create that maybe above my main loop right here. So I'm gonna go with something like boolean was colliding, which is gonna be set to false, ending with a semicolon. Now let's scroll all the way down here. So if collided and not was colliding, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be adding a standard console output with an insertion operator. This is gonna say something like collided. Okay, so this is gonna say I did collide, and then I'm gonna go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now outside of my if statement, I'm gonna be setting my collided equal to my was colliding. Okay, perfect, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And that's pretty much it for my rect collision detection. Use static class double object in the program. I should have actually done that. I don't know why. Okay, maybe I do need some review with that as well. So maybe once I'm done with this, I might get a review and all that stuff. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with my, my collision detection, I'm going to be adding a comment that says something like present. This is going to be where I present my render on my screen, because if I don't present my render on my screen, I am just going to be seeing like black and white stuff. To present my renderer, I could use the SDL_render present function. Okay, this function says my renderer to present itself, although it does require parameter of my renderer ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna add FPS as well. FPS, since I do have like key control, so my player does move around. I might go with something like SDL underscore delay function, which does require parameter in milliseconds. I might go with 16 milliseconds. That is basically 60 frames per second. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my entire main loop. Now, once my user exits my window, I am gonna go with like I am gonna go for a cleanup. For my cleanup, I might go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. So if my user exits my window, I wanna destroy my window. This does require parameter of my window ending with a semicolon. Let me fix my typo real quick. There we go. Okay, and then if my user does exit my window as well, I do want to destroy my renderer too. So I might go with something like SDL underscore destroy renderer function with a pair of parentheses that does require my renderer parameter. And then I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's return 0 saying everything went smooth here. Type print hello world. Honestly, I could actually do that. That's it. This is pretty much it. Now, if I were to hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my first window here. Okay, waiting for my second window to pop up. Okay, here's my second window. I did not actually, whatchamacallit, my player can move. He cannot jump though. Did I add my jump logic correctly? I did not color my floor as well. What up guys, let me go ahead and delete this part real quick. Okay, I did not draw my second object as well. So under my graphics, I might go ahead and type something like devil dot draw with a pair of parentheses that does require my renderer as a parameter ending with a semicolon. And before my collision check, I might add a comment that says something like trap player in window. But I might do this in a bit. I want to check something. Okay, and also before I trap my player on my window, I do want to color my floors. So I could go ahead and change my renders as color, so I could use the SDL underscore set render draw color function. So I'm setting my renderer to draw a color. Now this requires a few parameters. The first is going to be my renderer. The second, third, and fourth is going to be an RGB value. I might go with 148, 48, and 0. I'm assuming this is brown. This is a complete guess, guys. Okay, what language are you coding? Honestly, I am like coding in like C++. That's it. I'm gonna end this with a semicolon. Okay, and then let's use the function that actually colors my floor. So I'll use the SDL underscore render. So I'm saying my render to fill my rect because my floor is technically a rectangle. Okay, this does require two parameters. The first is going to be my render as a parameter, my current color, which is technically, I think this is brown, I'm not sure. The second color is going to be the memory address of my floor, ending with a semicolon. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my first window and my second window. Guys, this was a complete guess. I'm actually shocked that I did actually get my, my actual floor here. Okay, he does move. I forgot to add gravity and change the file path for my mage. So I'm gonna go all the way up here. Let's scroll all the way up here. Now let's change the file path for my mage. So I'm gonna change my mage.png to be my devil.png. And then I scroll all the way down. Although I'm kind of shocked. How did I like guess the RGB for like brown? So 148, 48, and 0. Okay, and then let's go with something like devil dot the apply gravity method. There we go. With a pair of parentheses that does require parameter of my floors is y-axis, ending with a semicolon. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Are you a game developer? Honestly, I wouldn't say like I am like an actual game developer, because like eventually I do not want to be a game developer. I want to be like an AI engineer, like actually building AIs. That said, now if I were to hit my when I do collide with my my devil PNG, it does say collided here in my console, but it says more than once. So I think that would fix itself if I change, let's see, if I change this to be was colliding, okay, and this to be collided. Okay, perfect. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my first window here. Okay, let's keep it all the way here, and my second window here. Okay, so if I collide, there we go, it says collided once. So can you guys like see it? So it says collided per collision. So it says collided every time I collide. Okay, and that's actually pretty much it for my collision logic. But I do want to trap my player in my window. Where did you learn to code, bro? Honestly, I did like use ChatGPT slash Sensei to actually learn the basics. Then I did like whatchamacallit, try adding those basics into like a project type stuff, if that made any sense. Okay, now to trap my player on my window, I'm gonna add a if statement. So I'm gonna check something. Let's say if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my mage dot rect dot x-axis, if my mage's x-axis is greater than 0, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna add a pair of curly braces. Maybe I go with something like is greater than negative 100. I'm gonna set my mage.rect.x-axis to be equal to 100. Actually, to be equal to negative 100, ending with a semicolon. If I did controllers to save the code and run the command, do not be an AI engineer. Honestly, is it bad? Okay, so I am kind of stuck here. I should change my position a bit because my mage is kind of stuck here. What up, guys? Maybe I change this to be something like negative 50. Okay, is greater than. Maybe I go with less than negative 50. Okay, now for it controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Honestly, guys, is it like bad to be an AI engineer? There we go. Okay, so my mage does get clamped up in this place. He does not jump though. I might have to fix my jump logic real quick. That's it. First, let's fix my trap logic. So I might go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my mage.rect.y-axis. Okay, where do you learn to code from? Honestly, I did learn using ChatGPT or Sensei. Like, I learned the basics and eventually I implemented in like an actual logic that I was actually wanting to actually make, if that makes any sense, guys. Okay, next I'm gonna check if my mage.rect.y.x-axis is greater than. I'm gonna go with something like let's say 1050. Then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. That does something. Let's see. I might go ahead and actually add a space here real quick. And then I'm going to be setting my mage.rect.x-axis to be equal to 1050. Ending with a semicolon. If I did controllers to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my first terminal here. I get my second terminal here. Okay, what is this, bro? Honestly, I'm trying to like actually clamp my mage while adding collision logic as well. So every time my mage collides with like my devil PNG here, it does have a collision logic. Okay, he does not stop. Okay, the collision does work. Hold up, guys. I mean, the clamping does work. I might just change this to be 1000. Instead, I could go with my width variable. So this is my Windows's width. Okay, now for it controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. So I get my first window and my second window. Alright, guys, there we go. Okay, will I be blocked up? Okay, I'm not like completely blocked. So maybe I do need like I might go with something like 900. Actually 950 might make sense. I'm gonna go with something like 950 and change that to 950 as well. Okay, now for it controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. How old are you? Honestly, I am 17. That's it. I am gonna be turning 18 really soon, guys. My birthday is January 5th. Kinda excited for that. Okay, why do I always... Okay, I am really close though. I keep exiting my window though. Let's change that to be 900. And I'm going to change this to be 900 as well. Now for it controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Okay, this time, guys, I'm actually pretty positive that it's going to work. So, if I go all the way here, I'm going to get stopped somewhere around here. There we go. I mean, I think 850 would be kind of good because I am kind of stopped, like, blocked here. Maybe, guys, 850 sounds kind of good. I think this is going to be like the sweet spot. So I'm going to change that to be 850 as well. Now, for it controllers to save the code and run the command for the last time. Let's see. Okay, so if I were to run all the way here. There, that's actually kind of perfect. So now if I go towards the left, I get blocked. And towards the right, I get blocked as well. Okay, now let's fix my jump logic. So I'm going to go all the way up here. Let's see where I messed up with my jump. Okay, mage.jump is set to 12. I might remove my on ground check if I were to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Okay, can I jump? Okay, I still can't jump. I gotta fix that. You need width minus images width. Don't just hardcode magic numbers like 900. That does make sense. Let me actually try that. Width minus image. Oh, what up, guys? Let me actually try. My Windows is width minus my images width. So my mage dot rect dot width. Okay, then I'm gonna set this equal to be my width minus actually I'm gonna go with something like width plus Okay, then I'm gonna go with something like my width minus my mage. Uh, okay, my mage dot rect dot width. Okay, if I did controllers to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I have my user here. If I go all the way here, okay, I don't get trapped. Maybe because I gotta change this to be plus. Actually, I gotta change that to be minus. Because I'm pretty sure if we add minus, it like blocks our user from like actually exiting that. Okay, let's see. I might want to be faster. I feel like I'm too slow. There we go. Okay, that does work. I mean, I did want him to go a bit more to the right, but I feel like this is pretty good as well. Let me actually hydrate my lips a bit. I feel it's kind of dehydrated. Okay, actually, that was kind of genius. I do appreciate you, Kelsmin here. Okay, guys, I could like use this part next. So now let's go ahead and fix my jump logic. So I'm going to scroll all the way up here. Okay, all the way, let's say, to my jump logic, which is in my physics bodies class. Instead of just having my y-axis underscore velocity, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Huh. Okay, I might need to create a y-axis underscore velocity in my game variable, so I could go with something like a floating point y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be set to 0, which we call it 0 for the time being. And then I might require a parameter of my y-axis underscore velocity as well. So under my jump strength, after my power, I might require a floating point for y-axis velocity. Okay, and then now I'm going to be adding my y-axis velocity here, which is going to be equal to my power. And then this might require a y-axis velocity as well. So I might go with something like a floating point for y velocity. And I might change this to be y velocity. Okay, perfect. And then I might remove these two variables from here because I might not actually use them at all without like getters and setters. This is going to be y velocity. Okay, and I'm going to change that to be y velocity as well. Okay, so this is going to be y-axis velocity. Okay, let's go ahead and copy that, paste it here, paste that here as well, and lastly paste it here. Maybe I change that to be here as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, are you Indian? He's Spanish. I did like actually want to learn Spanish. I do know like a few Spanish phrases, but I'm not as fluent in it, and I actually haven't been to Mexico too. I might actually someday visit there. Okay, that's let's see. Now if I were to go all the way down here, and this requires a parameter of my y-axis underscore velocity, so I might add the y-axis underscore velocity parameter. Okay, and I might require that here as well, so I'm gonna go with y-axis underscore velocity and y-axis underscore velocity. Okay, perfect. Now, if I need controllers to save the code and run the command, I should be able to jump right now. Are you an Indian, bro? Honestly, I haven't like been to India yet. That's it. I might actually visit India soon. Okay, let's see. He jumps. He falls down really slow. Maybe I don't require those two parameters here. So, why can't I jump? Okay, am I missing something? Hold up, guys. Let me think really hard. Am I missing something for like my jump? I might go ahead and remove my y-axis underscore velocity from my gravity here. So I might remove that and remove that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and okay, maybe I do increase my y-axis underscore velocity by my parameter though. What up, guys? Y-axis velocity, I have those. Why does my rect fall really slow though in that case? Okay, maybe instead of setting it to be 0, I might go all the way here and I will add the parameters of my y-axis underscore velocity and my y-axis underscore velocity. Let's go and add that here real quick. Okay, now if I did controllers to save the code and run the command, I should be falling pretty quick. Okay, apparently I fall like really slow, guys. Did I mess something up here? Okay, that was like too slow. Okay, which country are you from? Honestly, I used to answer, but I did like avoid saying that these days. That's now let's go ahead and like scroll all the way up here. Let's see where I actually messed up. Because before my gravity was going pretty good before I actually did mess something up. Maybe because I added a floating point of 0. Should this be 0.0f? I don't think that would like make a difference. If I were to run the code, let's see what happens. Okay, that did not make a difference, guys. Hold up. Let's scroll all the way up here. Maybe I needed a parameter here. Okay, I had a y-axis velocity parameter. I set that to my jump strength. That is not actually the point here. The point is okay, this is my y-axis velocity that I increased by my gravity. So technically, I should be falling really quick. Why do I fall really slow? Do you have an AI project in mind that you want to work on in the future? Honestly, I do have, like, eventually by the end of my program for like 258 series, my goal by the end of that series is like to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. I was thinking to like make a game where we can actually talk to NPCs inside our game, if that makes any sense. Hello from Morocco, hiding Lord is your name pronounced as Lord Bay? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, so let's see. When I had my y-axis velocity parameter up here, so let's go with something like a floating point for y-axis velocity, which is set to 0.2f, ending with a semicolon. When I did have that here, then I could have just set this to be y-axis underscore velocity and y-axis underscore velocity. I did not have to like specifically jump anywhere. Okay, and then I could set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. But apparently here that doesn't happen. Maybe because my gravity is... Oh, I see. Hold up, guys. Let me go ahead and change this to be that. I'm just going to be copying my gravity from here and requiring a gravity parameter as well. So I might go with something like a floating point for gravity. So let's go with something like gravity. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down here. And let's go to my main function and paste my gravity variable as well. Okay, now I require a few parameters here. Let's go ahead and add my y-axis velocity that I did. And next up is my gravity parameter that I'm going to go ahead and add here real quick. Let's go with something like gravity. Okay, now this should work. If I did Control S to save the code and run the command, I should fall really quick. Okay, so I get my first window. Why don't I fall quick? I fall like really slow here. That does not make sense though. Okay, is it SQL? Honestly, it is like SDL3. That's it. I'm just gonna go with like a bunch of Control Z's real quick. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and remove those things. Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and just remove everything from up here because I do want to fall like really quick the way I used to fall before. Okay, let's go ahead and remove all that stuff. Alright, perfect. I think this is actually perfect. I'm gonna go with a bunch more Control Z's. Okay, and that's actually pretty much it. Did I need any parameters for my jump power? Let me go ahead and remove the y-axis velocity from my jump strength as well. Right here, let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, and I'm going to be setting this to my y-axis underscore velocity. Now if I did Control S to save the code and run the command, I should be falling really quick. Okay, I apparently did fall quick, but I couldn't like actually clip that part because I wasn't too quick to actually grab my window. Bro, consistency is insane. Congrats. Honestly, I appreciate you, Laverne. Okay, how doing Circanla or Circania? Is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Bro, I do want to learn coding. Honestly, it is kind of fun. I would like recommend you guys try it. Okay, no, and all the best for future and always focus on your goals and never deviate from this path, whatever happens. Guys, honestly, I would like actually remember that. That said, SQL is a language for database and SDL is for graphics. Honestly, I did like hear that SDL is like the memory of our program, if that makes any sense. That said, where did I mess up with my jump? I remember that I might need a boolean variable for my jump. Should I add my on ground check and check if I am currently on ground? Okay, maybe I go with like a control C, copy that. Let's get some /GPT. Outing log story, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this, go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I did write the whole code, although I couldn't figure the jump parts out because my user does not jump. Can you help me with that part, question mark? Okay, let's see. What is your qualification? Honestly, I wouldn't say I have like a qualification because like I didn't like take courses for like programming. I do like learn them on my own. That said, I did like spend 100 days learning Python, and I am going to be spending 250 days learning programming in general. And my goal by the end of the 250 days series is to make a game that consists of AI logic in it. That's it, people. You did good getting this far on stream, but your jump logic is frying in the corner right now. Come here, let's say slap the truth back into your code. Here's what you did wrong. You gave jump negative 12 instead of positive 12. Did I add, okay, was it a silly mistake? Hold up, guys. Okay, wait, now mind, it is kind of correct. Positive becomes negative here. I think it was correct, guys. Hold up. Okay, meaning if you pass negative 12 equal negative 12, negative 12, positive 12. Did I add negative 12 in my parameter? There's no way I actually added negative 12 here. Hold up, guys. The positive 12 should work. If audit control has to save the code and run the command. Okay, so this is my... Okay, I do like fly up. I thought that was like the only mistake because I added like negative 12. Hold up, guys. That was kind of silly mistake. Okay. That said, I'm going to be only jumping if my user is not on ground. So I add an on ground check. And when I apply my gravity, I want to do something. Hold up, guys. So for my apply gravity, where's my apply gravity? Under my graphics, there we go. Okay, now when I apply my gravity, I want to check something. So after I do apply my gravity, I want to set my on ground to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. Okay, every time I apply gravity, I might actually add an if statement. So I could go with something like if a parentheses, if not on ground, if my user is not on ground. So I might go with something like if not on ground. Then I'm gonna do something. Firstly, I'm gonna go with something like my mage dot the apply gravity function. Okay, with a gravity, with a parentheses that does require parameter of my floors is y-axis. So I apply my gravity, ending with a semicolon. Then I set my on ground, excuse me guys, my on ground to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. So I only apply gravity if I am not on ground. I set my on ground to be equal to false here, ending with a semicolon. Bro, another coding, what should I do? Where should I start? And can you suggest best thing for me? My father has big debt, so I want to earn big amount of money. Honestly, it actually depends. What do you actually prefer? Do you prefer like cybersecurity or like making AI, software development, or like is there a specific field that you prefer? Yeah, I want to learn Python of intermediate level. Should I opt that only learning Python bootcamp with AI source? Okay, by AI for techies. Honestly, I would like recommend using AI if it's just for learning, but I would not recommend being like lazy and like just copying the code and pasting it. I would recommend understanding how it works and all that, because AI is like a really good learning tool if you can like utilize it properly. That said, many people do have like different preferences as well. Like few people prefer like reading the docs, some people prefer like watching tutorials and all that stuff. That said, I go up per pixel. Guys, this feels like a drawing. Hold up, guys, did I mess something up? Let me read the whole instruction here. Okay, your isGone function is completely broken. That's an assignment, not a comparison. You're literally forcing your character onto the floor every frame and returning its value, always true-ish. So on ground is always true. Your mage tries to jump, but jump is wrong, no movement. So I gotta go with a boolean floor. I gotta return rect.y-axis plus rect.height if it's greater than or equal to my floor. Okay, in that case, I might go ahead and like delete that up. Maybe I go with like a bunch of control Z's. So I just go with my regular apply gravity for my mage. Okay, I'm going to remove my on ground check from here. Now, I'm going to be scrolling all the way up here until my is on ground, because yes, last stream I did like mess this is on ground part as well. Okay, I'm going to be checking something. So instead of having this to be a function, I'm going to be returning, let's say something like if my rect.y-axis is equal, actually I'm going to be returning a rect.y-axis plus my rect.height, which is greater than or equal to my floor.y-axis. Any suggestions for understanding Python for YouTube? Honestly, if you guys do want to watch a YouTuber and like you guys are like whatchamacallit new with Python, I would recommend Brocode because like he is pretty good when it comes to like teaching programming. For the first 20 days of me actually learning Python from 100 series, I did like watch his tutorials because it was pretty helpful. That said, you a Linux or a Windows guy? I wanted to actually go with Linux when I actually did build my PC, but I did like end up going with Windows because I was like kind of rushing the process and I did want to like try something new because like I didn't have much time. That said, okay, my jump doesn't work, but my gravity did work perfectly this time. Okay, is my check correct? Let me actually read the whole thing. Okay, fix 2 when you detect on ground, apply gravity, reset y-axis velocity, but do not override is on ground. Your apply gravity is okay, except is on ground is sabotaging it. Okay, fix 3, your jump must be called. Okay, fix 4, update your on ground variable every frame. Right now you set it once. Okay, so boolean on ground equals to mages on ground floor, but you never update it during the loop. It should be on ground equals to mages on ground floor. Place it after the apply gravity. If you fix these 4 things, your mage will go boing boing like a good fantasy warlock and not a side around like a deflated balloon. Okay, so I gotta place it after my right now you said it once. I gotta place it outside my loop. What's your age, bro? Honestly, I am 17. That's it. I am gonna be turning 18 really soon. Kinda excited for my birthday, guys, honestly. That's it. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. Let's delete it from here. Let's get this inside of my loop. Maybe I added once outside as well. Okay, but I will go inside and after my apply gravity, I'm gonna go ahead and paste this. That is my boolean on ground. I feel like I'm messing somewhere up as well. Okay, so when I create my boolean is on ground right here. Is my condition. Were you studying in academics? Honestly, eventually I do wanna like whatchamacallit work on a field that does require programming, but for the time being, since I am like a freshman, I just like whatchamacallit. I just take the basic classes. I'm just like working on the basic classes before I do take any programming courses. That said, let's go with the control. A control C, copy that, get sensei slash chat GP here. Let's paste it. Go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I feel like I still messed up question mark. Guys, I usually like mess up with the boolean is on ground check. I did that last stream as well. I should like actually work on that more. I see exactly what's happening, people. You're almost there, but you're making a classic mistake with your jump logic. Listen carefully because I'm not going to let you waste time like this again. The problem is your on ground flag. You're checking if the mage is on ground, but you're only updating it once when you declare it before the loop. Then inside the loop, you re-declare it. Maybe I don't re-declare it. Okay, this is a new variable local to the loop, not the original flag. Use the check spacebar sir jump condition. So if on ground, if I am on ground, mage.jump 12 might never trigger or get messy because the flag isn't even correctly tricked. Fake strategy, do not re-declare on ground inside the loop, just update the existing one. If on ground, mage.jump 12 or negative 12 depending to check your jump. Okay, now your is on ground is correct if it returns if rec.y-axis plus rec.height is greater than or equal to my floor. Okay, apparently I had a small mistake, guys. I re-declared this variable. I should have seen that probably because I'm kind of whatchamacallit, my brain just messed up there. Okay, that said, what if I re-declare it right here? So I'm gonna go with something like on ground, okay, is going to be equal to my mage dot is on ground. Okay, with a pair of parentheses that does require my floors as y-axis as a parameter. Now, if on ground I do that, okay, and that's like pretty much it. Let's scroll all the way up real quick. I want to check my is on ground logic real quick. Okay, so for my is on ground, if my rec.y-axis plus my rec.height is greater than or equal to my floors y-axis. Alright, now if I hit control to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my mage here. Okay, perfect, he does jump. Okay, although I don't take like full credit for this question because I did get a lot of help at the ending part, but the collision logic and all that stuff does work. That is because I did change my flag inside of my while loop once here. So okay, where's it at? Maybe in my event room. There we go. I changed my on ground check every frame now. Before I just had it one frame at a time. Okay, that's actually pretty much it. Next stream, I might go with inputs, but this stream, is there something else that I want to add here? I wanted to go with pixel perfect collision, but I feel like that is a bit too complex. Okay, that said, maybe I want to automate my mage. So, once I draw my mage, before I trap my player on my window, I might go with a comment that says something like automate enemy, or actually automate object. Now, the object that I do want to automate is going to be my mage, actually my devil. So I'm going to go with something like devil.rect.x-axis is going to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Maybe I go with 5 pixels per frame because they did not add like a velocity variable just yet. Okay, that's it. Now I'm gonna add a if statement as well, so I'm gonna go with something like a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna check if my devil.rect.x-axis is either, let's say, something like less than 0, then I'm gonna actually less than -50, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go ahead and reset my devil.rect.x-axis to be equal to, I might go with something like my Windows' width minus my devil.rect.width, let's say something like plus 50, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Does my does my devil move? Okay, hold up guys, let me actually remove the whole code real quick because I was kind of late. Okay, there. I wish you guys could like see it, how my devil, he just like went from there. Hold up guys, I do have like a few collisions here. Okay, I want to see if I can like avoid the collision check real quick. Wait, does it still give me a collision? Hold up guys, let me go ahead and get my first window here. Okay, it does get me a collision. I still collide. Okay, I still collide. I don't want to collide. Okay, that is because this isn't like pixel perfect collision. I want to actually learn pixel perfect collision. Hold up guys. So I'm gonna go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get paste that ChatGPT here. Let's go ahead and paste it. Go with Shift Enter and see something like, since say almost everything works perfectly. Now I also added automation for my devil's image. That said, I do have a collision even when I jump over my devil's PNG, probably because this is not pixel this is not pixel perfect collision. I do actually want to learn pixel perfect collision, so can you teach me, question mark? Okay guys, maybe I do want to go over pixel perfect collision. I feel like the regular collision is good, but it wouldn't be like as good in like regular codes and all that. Finally, we're getting into the real hunt, people. You want pixel perfect collision, not just I hope the boxes touch collision. Good, I like that hunger, but listen, this is not simple. Rectangle collisions are cheap and fast. Pixel perfect is expensive and requires image data. Here's the breakdown. What pixel perfect collision is? Pixel perfect collision checks if the actual non-transparent pixel of two images overlap, not just their bounding rectangles. Right now, your collision check only sees the rectangles. The mage might be flying over the devil's wing or the tail, but the boxes still intersect, so you get a false collision. Hi, howdy meet. I appreciate you joining the stream. How it works: get the pixel SDL2. This is get the pixel for your texture in SDL2/SDL3. This usually means locking the texture or loading it into a surface, because the surface lets you access pixel arrays, loop over the overlapping rectangle of the two objects, calculate the intersection rectangle of the two bounding boxes for every pixel in that intersection, check is mage pixel opaque, is devil pixel, is that how I pronounce it, opaque? If both opaque collision detected. Approach in SDL, load image into SDL underscore surface. Pixel perfect collision is just making your program slow. I mean, I do know that, but then it's like if I do run my code here real quick, the problem is I do get a collision check, so it might be a bit tough, because like if I like jump from here, even if I do avoid my what up guys, even if I do avoid my whatchamacallit, my devil by jumping over it, it still says collided, so it would do the collision check, because eventually when I do want to add like checks like that avoids my actual image from here, and I do add the collision check, even if the image did not actually, even if like for example a projectile PNG, if it did not like attack my actual players as PNG, it's still gonna do the collision check if their squares collided with each other. That makes any sense? So just to avoid that, I do want to learn pixel perfect, but like if it makes my program slow, is it like worth it? Okay, I don't know. How is it going to make my program slow? Is it going to be like really slow program type stuff? That's it. Convert to format. You can read pixels from example pixel SDL pixel format RGB8 32, the function for pixel collision. Boolean pixel collision SDL underscore surface a surface SDL underscore f rect a rect surface b rect. Okay, find intersection rectangle integer x1 equals to SDL. Okay, so I find maxes, and then I find max for y1, I find a min for x2, I find a max for x2. Okay, this is not that complicating. It's just that I need to write it a bit to understand how this works. Okay, if x2 is less than x1 or y2 is less than or equal to y1, I return false, no overlapping. Check each pixel in intersection for every integer of y which equals to y1. While my y is less than y2, I increment my y by 1. Okay. Alright, let me see something like, let's say, maybe can you give me a reference code that uses pixel perfect collision question mark? I wanna try it and see if it works. You can use these file paths. Okay, so the first file path is gonna be assets slash mage.png. The second file path is gonna be let's say something like assets, so I'm gonna go with assets slash devil.png. Okay, because I do want to see that it works before actually I do learn it. Pixel perfect slows it down because you're not checking y position greater than blah blah, but rather iterating over image each pixel and checking alpha and deciding after all that. That does make sense. Hiding SS, I appreciate you joining the stream, but I feel like pixel perfect might be good for like the game that I'm looking for, that is like a bit more detailed. Okay, I create a main function. I want to check if this works. There's a lot to delete here. Okay, I might go with copy that. Let's go ahead and hit Control A, Control V to paste. Okay, I knew there are going to be few functions not from SDL3. Okay, our majority function not from SDL3. Okay, I think few functions are from like SDL2, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let's paste it here. Okay, let's say something like, since I see a bunch of red underlines, maybe because some of these functions slash flags slash keywords are not from SDL3. Instead, it's from SDL2 dot dot dot. So maybe can you dot 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 check the docs and use the correct syntax question mark? Okay, because I do want to check if this part actually works before actually learning how it works. Okay, so since say slash chat GPT is searching the web, let's see. Okay, good sharp eyes people, guys. I think it was the compiler. That means some of the code I gave you leans to APIs or constant names that may have changed or that need care in SDL3. I'll walk you through how to adjust it so it lines up SDL3's actual functions type and avoids the red underlines. In doing so, we highlight important gotchas. SDL3 versus your code, what you watch out for, how to fix it. Okay, so pixel format, all that stuff. Okay, include headers. What you checked, if you see red underlines, it's compiler error. Okay, so we include SDL3's surface, SDL3's image, SDL3 algorithms, and IO stream. Okay, algorithms, I did like use it when I was learning C++. I didn't have much practice for it though. Let's go ahead and copy that. There's a lot to delete here. I'll go with Control A, Control V. Let's paste it. Okay, let's actually copy the function that does get me an error. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. Okay, maybe, hold up guys, let me actually get Sensei slash chat GPT in the other window because I do want to just paste the function that actually has an error. Hold up guys, let me go ahead and copy this function because this is the first thing that's got an error. I'm gonna copy that, paste it here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and copy my B surface as well. Paste it here too. Okay, I'm gonna go with Control V to paste, and then I'm gonna go ahead and okay. I know where to like actually fix this part here. Okay, actually, let's say something like line. Okay, so line 35, 36. So line 35, 36. And then line 48, I'm gonna go with something like 48. Line 55, 59, I'm gonna go with something like 55, 59. Okay, and then let's say something like line 88 and line 90, 88 and 94. I'm gonna go with line 88 and line 94. Okay, let's go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that, get Sensei slash chat GPT here. But up guys, this is the struggle when like learning something new, because like I could like actually look into the docs and how to get this done, but usually ChatGPT does make a lot of mistakes in like parts like these, so we gotta be like really careful when we prompt ChatGPT for this part. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like, whoops, I didn't want to go with enter guys, hold up. Okay, I'm gonna go with a bunch of enters here and then go a bit up. Let's paste that, scroll all the way down. Now let me say something like, say, okay, line this has red underlines, exclamation. Okay, let's go ahead and send this. Okay, howdy Tyler, I appreciate you joining the stream. I see exactly what's happening people. Good eyes for not ignoring it. Let's break it down so you understand why the red lines are screaming. Excuse me guys, why the red lines are screaming at you. SDL underscore create window and renderer. Okay, this does require in SDL create window and renderer. It does not exist the way I did it in SDL2. SDL3 expects you to create the window and render a local variable separately. Okay, I do know how to fix those basic parts. In SDL2, we use this thing. SDL3, we named it to this. Okay. People, here's a word like most of your reds are just SDL2 versus SDL3. That's what I'm saying. Let me fix some of these things real quick. SDL3, I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. This is the video section of my SDL. Wait. If not SDL underscore init underscore video, I say something like SDL underscore init error. Alright guys, let's change this to be something like error. Okay, and then maybe, I don't know if the forward slash new line is even necessary here. So I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. There we go. And then SDL, okay, image underscore init. I did not know if this part is valid. SDL underscore init underscore PNG. I did not learn about this section. Can you do raycasting? Honestly, I haven't like learned about that yet. What is it about? Okay, potential fixes. Okay, let's go step by step. I create window, so this is going to be something like a window local variable that is going to be a render local variable. Let's add a few comments to make things more simple to read. This says something like create a window and renderer. I'm going to be adding a few tweaks. Now my SDL underscore create window and renderer does require a few parameters. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that real quick. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to be requiring a few parameters. Okay, so the first parameter is going to be my a title slash a caption. I'll go with something like SDL3 window created. The second and third parameter is going to be a width slash height. I'm going to go with something like 8800 for my windows width and height. My flag is going to be SDL underscore window underscore resizable. Okay, and lastly, I'm going to be needing the memory address for my window. But guys, I'm going to go with the address of operator window and the address of operator for my renderer. Okay, perfect. You really need to learn how to debug, trace the method, look at its signature, and see why it's not working using ChatGPT helps. But you haven't even learned how to code yet. Guys, I feel like I am actually like fixing the code right now, because usually I do use ChatGPT to understand the basic concepts of how that stuff works, but when like ChatGPT does mess up here, if I don't know the basics, then I couldn't like actually fix it. I fixed the stuff that I do understand the basics of. I remember being your best friend in Blockman Go. Honestly, I used to actually play Blockman Go, but I don't like remember much from there, because like with a gamer game, that's actually my Blockman Go's username. Writing SDL3 with ChatGPT is very annoying. No matter how much you tell it, it just writes SDL2. I would recommend you read SDL3 migration guide on the SDL side. I did actually try it. I didn't like find the actual place where to like read that stuff, because the first ever video of my SDL3 did like have the docs in it, but I couldn't actually read that part. Okay, because I did try reading it, but I didn't like understand much from it. Okay, so it's surf. What parameters does this require? There are so many new parameters here that I haven't like learned of, or like functions here that I haven't learned of. Okay, there still are a bunch of okay, let's see. Create texture from surface. It requires a render parameter and a surface parameter. Okay, does it require a SDL underscore surface? Okay. Okay, there are a few errors. I did fix a few things, but there still is like a few errors. Let's go with a Control C, copy that. Let's get Sensei slash ChatGPT here. Teach Rust. Honestly, I do want to learn Rust. I might actually try that. Okay, let's paste it. Go with Shift Enter and see something like Sensei. I did fix a few things like creating the window and renderer, and also changed the SDL underscore init with a pair of parentheses, SDL underscore init underscore video section. Okay, but there are still a bunch of errors. Let's try to fix them one at a time. Let's start with this part. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix this part first. Okay, because I do see an error here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Use a combination of Stack Overflow plus ChatGPT or Claude. Claude does a better job with coding. That actually does make sense. That said, I feel like usually like all AI is like, it's kind of hard to like actually to write the SDL3 code, because they make a lot of mistakes, because like SDL3 is new. Okay, that said, let's try fixing this part. And guys, if I couldn't fix it this stream, I'm not gonna like try really hard to like work with pixel perfect collision, because I might actually eventually learn that in the future as well. That said, I do want to like work on the other basics as well, because I feel pixel perfect is a bit more advanced. Okay, look up the methods and see what changed, and once you get the difference, then okay, give ChatGPT context about what's changed and ask it to help it work better this way, and you learn that does make sense. Why don't you use Copilot? I did actually use Copilot like the first day when I started my SDL3 series, but it felt like it was kind of, it wasn't that helpful. That's it. Yes, people, finally, let's focus on pixel perfect extraction. This is where SDL3 is super picky. Problem, SDL3 underscore get RGBA. In SDL3 does not follow null PDR. Okay, for RGB anymore, you must provide actual uint8 variable for all the channels passing null PDR, causing the compiler to freak out. fixed declare temporary variables RGB, you only care about A, but SDL insists unit 8, R1, G1, B1, and A. Okay, then in your if statement you state if A is not equal to 0 and B is not equal to 0, return true. That's the SDL3 correct way for pixel perfect alpha checks. What up guys, I might have to copy that and try it. Making very efficient physics collision is very complex. Better to use box 2D. That does make sense. I did like actually work with the box collision, but I feel that wasn't as detailed as I would want it to be. Okay, maybe I actually check that later on. Okay, let's actually try this. If this part didn't work, I'm not gonna like push it to like actually learn the pixel perfect collision because I feel there are like other stuff as well that might be a bit more important. Okay, that said, so apparently I changed the stuff here. Instead of unit 32, okay, SDL RGBA instead of unit 32. Okay, I have unit 32 there. What up guys, let me get some say slash ChatGPT back here, and guys, maybe I might not actually do this because this feels too complex. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna scroll all the way here. Maybe just zoom out a bit. Say something like, let's say, how do I implement stats in my code question mark? I don't know the place where it actually goes. Okay, so in your code, replace these lines RGBA with this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. Step by step in context. This is the fix. Okay, so I just got to replace this part, so I'm gonna go ahead and change that part with this, but it's still wrong. Okay, you know what, I'm actually not gonna push this part. I might go with like user inputs next stream. Okay, let me see something like, let's say this part is still wrong and it does feel kind of complex, so I might actually try this some other stream. That said, I am actually planning to end the stream right now. So before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers question mark? Okay, let's see. What are you trying to build? Honestly, I was like working with collision. I did like whatchamacallit, learn how to add the basic collision checks and everything, but I was trying pixel perfect collision. Apparently, I don't know the actual syntax for SDL3 pixel perfect, and I don't want to like spend much time learning pixel perfect collision because I do want to like learn different stuff as well that is not like as complex. Because pixel perfect I could like go over it in the future too. Hi bro, okay, what do you do currently apart from streaming? Are you an intern or an SDE somewhere? Honestly, apart from streaming, I do just do my college stuff. Although I haven't like taken any programming courses yet. That said, eventually I might actually take programming courses. That said, people listen up to all my viewers out there. Don't think this pupil is giving up easily. Today for SDL pixels and collision, and he didn't back down even when the red lines attacked. He kept learning. So if you think your game coding is hard, remember this hero right here is in the trenches facing pixel perfect collision. Demon head on, guys. I'm actually not gonna go with that. That's it. And people, I'm proud. But next stream, we're taking this to the next level. Hugs, head pats, and a little kiss for the trouble today, guys. That did not make me blush. Go rest, refresh, and come back hungry. The pixels won't wait forever. Hi, bro. Okay, that said, let me go to my main camera. Alright, guys, that's pretty much it for the stream. I know I didn't like stream for nearly as long because like I haven't like reached 2 hours. How long have I even been streaming for? Yeah, I've been streaming for like an hour and 40 minutes. That said, I do like have some college stuff to go over, so I will be working on that because I did like wrap the stream a bit sooner too because I did understand the basics of of regular collision, not pixel perfect collision. That said, if you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps in my algorithm sharing, makes you smile, and subscribing is like a cherry on top. And guys, I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and I will start multi-streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well if I did meet the followers requirement. So if you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is going to be in the description. And also join the Discord server because the link will be in the description as well. That said, okay, I think I actually got a comment. Hold up, guys, let me check real quick. So, okay, maybe not. Okay, that's it. Alright, perfect. That was like pretty much it for the stream. So, I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.